Day 3 of the waiting period here in Rio de Janeiro. We are out in Saquarema on the eastern beaches. It's a beautiful morning here as you join us in the action of round 2 this morning. You're looking at the Frenchman Joan Duru in action as he posts wave number 1. And he's up against Caio Ibelli, who is coming hot off momentum from our third stop, the last of the Australian leg, the Oi Rio Pro Bells Beach. Stay with us this morning. It's going to be a great day of action. Conditions are proving to be playable here at Saquarema. Good morning, Pete Mel.
Good morning, Giggs. And of course, this morning, I didn't know if we were going to be running heats today, but sure enough, Trav Logie saw the conditions he would like to see here. 3 to 4 foot, Joan Duru going down on that final move, so he's just warming up. But again, it's a bluebird day. You know, you open up the curtains this morning, it was beautiful sunshine, and the wind is light. It's going to hold that, I think, throughout the day, and that's why we're going to be having a big day of surf.
Last year's Rookie of the Year award, finishing high up on the Jeep leaderboard out of the rookies of 2016. You see him now activate. Tight hook in the pocket. Saw beautiful rail walk on his forehand in Australia. Let's see how he applies itself to his homeland here in Brazil. And he'll get a little caught up there. So as we're talking about those surf conditions, Pete, a lot of lump and bump moving. Jet skis back in operation this morning. And certainly a lot of sweep. But there are opportunities, as we saw Sebastian Zietz nailing a win over Ethan Ewing in that last heat. So there are numbers to find out here.
Here's Caio Ibelli. Point of difference for me from Kaio is that he holds a lot of power in his surfing, but he carries it with a ton of speed.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good point you make there, Pete. His consistency is carrying him to the big stage. As we see Joan Duru, backhand snap. Little bowl waits for him, it finds shape. Duru climbs the white water now out onto the face for another tighter wrap. This is better from the Frenchman. He's done this 1,000 times at home in France. So he'll be very adept in the beach break conditions. Maybe not with the backwash though.
Well, exactly, is that Joan Duru, you know, his amount of time on the qualifying series, grinding it out in conditions just like this. You know, so this would be a place, but he's also good in barrels because he comes from the beach breaks of France. To see him on his backhand, look at the flow he carries. Climbs up this whitewater section, right up over the top, actually transitions off that foamy section, right back to the open face and carves. And then the finish move. So nice 3 different types of moves. It's a variety. Carry great flow through that. That's going to be a good score for him. That's going to kind of open up that confidence and, you know, a couple weeks and riding out a couple swells. And I'm sure that's the first thing I would do is get out of here and go straight there.
Well, let's have a look how Caio Ibelli goes here. Wave number 2, his first one, a 3.77. Hack and a pivot. Finds some usefulness out of that tight section. So brings 2 maneuvers to the applause of the crowd here in Brazil this morning. Local time just after 8:15. So an early start here with Travis Logie, the commissioner, getting us going around 7:05. So you're joining us now in the 3rd heat of the morning. It is heat 7 of the roster.
Take a look on his backhand here. Nice section. He wanted to probably compress a little bit, but got extended. Timing issue there. So a little bit of a flaw in that first maneuver just because of that extension. Kind of took away from the flow, but he was able to get right back into it. Recorrected. Got a nice connection with that final section.
This is going to be a great matchup because Joan Duru, as we were talking about, is adept in the beach break. This one's got a lot of sort of wafting on the face, but Duru again reads it beautifully, brings that 3rd turn in just to punctuate the whole ride. 2 sort of semi-average maneuvers before then, Pete, but nonetheless momentum, and his previous score is in. It's a 7.
I like what he did there because he would have seen and listened to that 7 get posted and go, oh, okay, these rights are perfect for me. You know, he's got a backhand that is going to play well. A little sloppy on the float, got a little off balance, but was able to recover nicely. And the snap, and bangs it for 3 turns again. So he had that kind of similar wave to his second wave. What you've been watching, who has been spending the most time here at this contest bank, and who haven't you seen?
Well, I've been seeing Iago Dora training a lot over here. Iago, Adriano de Souza, and Wiggly Dantas. Mostly the Brazilians are surfing here. And
absolutely, and he's had John's number, you know, throughout the season and last year even. So that's the kryptonite for the young John Florence so far.
Well, as we Transition to live action. Joan Duru just falling a little pothole there at the end of that ride. He'll go down. The Frenchman leading Caio Ibelli in this exchange.
That's the first real mistake we've seen from him. Don't know if it probably won't factor in. He still has that lead, but again, tentatively, you know, his 12.10 points isn't the best two-wave total, but this morning it's enough. Let's see if he can hold here as we see the replay of that last wave. But look at that. Holds his bottom turn, draws it out, and then there probably would have improved on the 5.10 had he pulled that last move off. The surfers kind of jump on those models and then just do the subtle tweaks just to be able to connect it perfectly with the surfer that is riding it. You know, maybe it's a thinner rail, maybe thinner rail through the tail, maybe it's a more tucked edge, whatever it is to kind of dial that equipment in, and he's been able to do that.
Caio Ibelli on the Xanadu shapes. Again, fits that two-turn combination in, almost repeating a previous ride. And he's surfing with efficiency, but he's not finding the numbers just yet. A 4.83 and a 3.77 in his top two at this stage. Wanting to attack the requirements of a 7.57, so he's got to go into the good category. Joan Duru leading with the 7 and a 5.4.
Well, you look at Kaio's kind of been focusing on the lefts. You know, he's trying to find those quality ones, and there's not as many of them. You know, the rip pole right tends to be a lot more consistent. You see that nice snap, and then this wave shuts down on super quickly. Tries to get up there, but gets there a bit late.
Well, start talking about that with that I had that whole discussion in my head with Snapper Rocks getting an all goofy foot final and an Owen Wright win, but then the forehanders came to play, as we see here. Caio Ibelli, big open. We know how he surfs Bell's Beach, and he likes that. There was criticalness to the end of that. Met that lip as it was descending.
I think it's key to be, you know, you're an entertainment. This is entertainment, right? So you got to be an entertainer, and you got to go out there and perform. Take a look at this wave. Nice size set wave too. Straight, big bottom turn snap. Gets the release straight to the bottom, right into the lip again. Connects with it. So two solid moves for Caio Ibelli. And this was the type of surfing that got him to the final at Bell's Beach. That type, straight to the bottom, straight into the maneuvers. He never was chasing it, never pumping off the bottom. It was just this committed bottom turn straight into the maneuver.
4.5 minutes to go. Yeah, we're inside that critical final 5 minutes here, folks. Caio Ibelli leading over Joan Duru, and the requirement now 7.81 for the Frenchman. He's already found a 7, and as we say that, back to work goes the Brazilian. He's turned his attention to the right-handers here. Lump and bump, but he'll find the solution. Deep drive off the bottom now, and responds well. Reflexes, and it's just a little stumble at the end, so most of that to blame on the wave as it was flexing. But nonetheless, in those bumpy wave face pockets, Caio Ibelli gets very responsive. We'll see where that number goes, because one of his scores is a 6.1. Those were big hefty hacks on the forehand as we saw at Bell's.
And he carried a lot of speed through his maneuvers too. You can see he sets this one up, driving down the line, pumps it, and gets the maneuver there. Connects with it, and then this section was gnarly. As he tags it with a bunch of speed. If he had pulled this one off, I think he would have rivaled the score that he already has, an 8.7. It will be suppressed because of the mistake at the end.
Well, that recap package really highlighting that mistake at the end of Joan Duru's one ride. Of course, Caio Ibelli with a higher work rate as well. This is an important ride for Joan Duru as he looks to attack here. Requirements of a 7.88, which has increased, and it's very tight in the pocket. Caio Ibelli holding position as he's jumped up to 7th on the Jeep leaderboard. Care of that finals appearance against Jordy Smith. Here goes the Brazilian. He knows he's inside the last minute. He's obviously aware of Joan Duru's positioning, and yes, he is.
So smart, man. So smart. Noticing that that wasn't going to improve his situation, he's going to kick out in front of Joan Duru and commit to that priority.
So young surfers, pay attention to what happened there. Caio Ibelli saw that he wasn't going to find a massive score on that wave, and he knew exactly where his opponent was, incredibly aware of his opposition, and decided, nope, let me keep controlling this final 10 seconds.
Well, he has a lead, right? Yep. So he knows that that is so important. If he's not going to improve his score, he's going to gain priority and control the back half of the heat, which he has done. Nice work for Caio to come back in the end of that heat and put it together. So smart, because he's able to do it. He can do it from, you know, dominating heat, and do it from behind, and so consistent.